Hello, everybody. My name is Yamshchikov, and after a long pause, we start some more podcasts in English. And before we had three episodes in English with different scientists. Today, I'm very happy to say that I got a possibility to talk with the founder of a startup, Exactly AI. Tonia Samsonova is in our virtual studio. Uh, on the day that I learned that they raised a round, I reached out to Tonia, and she was kind enough to find time exactly today to talk. So I appreciate it. Hi, thank you very much for your time.
Hi, Ivan. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
So, what is exactly AI? What's up? What are you guys doing?
Well, we train AI models for creators, for artists, for illustrators, for designers who want to create images in their own unique style and who want to scale up their production and their productivity. So instead of like scraping the average amount of data from the internet and putting it into one AI model, we do it vice versa. We give a chance and we give a technology to those who create images and they train their own AI. And I believe that when you create AI, the most valuable ingredient is data it's trained on. And that's why AI models created by our illustrators and artists belong to them. They are the owners of the data sets, so they are the owners of the personal AI models that they create with us.
Okay, that sounds compelling. I think a year ago, maybe more, there was this moment when a lot of art creators had kind of collective action against generative AI. When I think one of the bigger image aggregation websites, I don't remember which one, maybe like basically one of the websites that highlights different artworks, DeviantArt probably or something like that, had a moment when all the images from all the artists converted into stop generative AI stuff. And I remember very soon one of the trading images was the image of a teenager in front of a screen of a computer that was showing the image of protest against generative AI. And so it was kind of a counter move of some artists basically advocating that AI is a tool, a useful one, and we just need to find a way to incorporate it in the business processes so that people benefit from it. So I believe that exactly seems to be addressing this issue. So exactly AI seems to be addressing the problem of not having enough agency for the artists. But how do you do it technically? Because Stable Diffusion, which you probably use, I don't know, but maybe you can tell about technical sides a little bit, still uses a lot of data to pre-train on, and then you can fine-tune on some given data set of an artist. But you probably still need a bulk of data to pre-train it on. So how do you circumvent this problem?
Well, on the technical side, we understand that there are many components in the pipeline of Exactly, and some of the components you need to basically create from scratch, but some of the others you can reuse or twiddle to the way you want it. So our pipeline consists obviously of large foundational models that is in charge of like understanding the concepts in copy and then translating them into the concepts in visuals and predict the visuals. But in essence, the most important ingredient that we've been building since November 2022 is a very good algorithm to understand the specificalities of the style of a unique artist. Because when you basically try to show to a computer vision algorithm something like this pouch, this sample, right? If you
I've
show
seen this
this
guy before somewhere in Belgium, I believe. Yeah.
yeah. Or let's have a look at my jacket, right? You can show like these patterns on the jacket. It's quite a complex task for an algorithm to understand which specific patterns of an individual style of an artist you really want to keep when you will be creating an inference with his model, and how many actually you need to show to the algorithm so you would understand what part of the pattern you want to copy. And that's like because of the diversity of styles and mediums, people draw with all sorts of things. They don't just use vector illustration. They use pencils. They use lots and lots of mediums. You have to be really good not only in having this data set of the diversity of the styles, but also have a deep understanding of the subject matter, right? So you have to have art historians working alongside with ML engineers who would be able to explain this is a pattern and this is just a random thing on the image. So the part of the pipeline that we are extremely proud of is that ability to understand so many different mediums and so many different style patterns, and to be able to create something which is similar to what's uploaded to exactly. And probably, like on the technical side, we're in a very good position because, whilst we are not creating the foundational model, so you can't use exactly just to generate images. The whole journey starts for you when you train your own model, and the foundational one is never exposed to the user. Now, because the private model that's built on top of the foundational model, the one that users actually sees, belongs not to us, but to the artist, we are not competing with the artist for the jobs. We're actually enhancing his possibility to generate revenue. And because they understand that, and people in our 40,000 members of our community, they understand that, they're happy to give us rights to use their data that they upload to us to further improve our technology. So unlike companies who are actually trying to negotiate a peace deal with the creators from whom they're scrapping the data to create an algorithm that's actually competing with them for the jobs, we don't have this problem. And because we have access to the data sets that are uploaded to us, we can see many things. And you can only create something if you saw it. And because we saw a lot of styles, we're very good in recreating the styles and recreating different style patterns. And the more they grow, the more artists from adjacent industries are coming into the platform. So the more data, the more diverse data set we have, and the better is the technology. So it's like a flywheel of data that improves the quality and enables us to attract more users to the platform.
Okay, but the foundational model that you mentioned is still based on a bunch of data available before. So how do you is the basic idea that since the artist can join the community now and kind of significantly boost their productivity and hopefully their cash flow, that's the core value proposition?
Not hopefully. Most of the members of our community are able to quadruple their income because artist income is capped. Quadruple, yeah, because if you're a successful artist, your income now is capped with the amount of time you have, because you have to take commissions, you have to negotiate with the clients, then you draw something, you send it to the art director. Art director never knows what he wants until he sees it. He will get back to you with move this here, move this there. So your whole time you're negotiating with the client. Now, if you are unable to get more clients, because basically you have limited number of hours per week. Most of the successful artists work 7 days a week, not 24/7, but a lot of time. And so imagine you can uncap this income. Imagine because the whole story for me started when a very famous illustrator, when I asked him to draw imagery for my product launch, for my app, he said, "Oh yeah, it's an amazing app. I actually charge £5,000 per image." It's okay, we can do that. And then he said, "I will start this commission in 8 weeks." She's "I can't wait 8 weeks. I have an app launch in 2 weeks. I can't wait for an illustrator to take the job in 8 weeks." Now, this person has 2 million followers on Instagram. And among those followers, there are people like me who want to commission him. And I'm happy to run his model and to create inferences or imagery with his model. Don't discuss with him whether he likes them or not. Pay him whatever he wants. I guess not £5,000, but still 2 million people pay maybe £500 for an illustration. He'll have much more time to focus on his artistic practice if he will embrace the idea that AI can be used by people like himself. Imagine that instead of freelancing for a customer, you can create a model that do the job exactly like you, and allow this customer to have paid access to your model, to rent it from you, and then you're into business
So,
app.
so the value proposition is that in every artistic endeavor, there is this component that we can. I'm probably butchering it. Sorry for people who actually care for art, but like there is craft and there is some visionary next level, some more artistic, more complex things where you actually want to dedicate your own time to it. And so, what exactly offers is the possibility to automate this craft component so that once you establish your own personal style and you get certain following, that people appreciate um, your vibe, let's say your style, your
Mm-hmm.
overall aesthetics, then the craft part basically gets decoupled from your hours, so you can charge lower price per hour because you actually invest minutes in that. And so the win-win situation is that for the artist, you spend way less time or even don't spend time at all. You just kind of create a digital copy of yourself that you can offer to the clients, right? That's the idea.
I think it's much easier than that. So it's a marketplace, yes. And let's look at the situation from the client's perspective.
Yeah.
Imagine you're trying to hire somebody through the illustration agency or Fiverr or Upwork. Well, you have to go there, assess the talent, create a brief, send this brief to the potential freelancers, wait for them to reply to your brief, then get 5 images in 2 weeks, then assess those images, then understand that something is wrong, write back to them, negotiate how you want to change it, and then you spend as a client a lot of your time on negotiating. Now, if we are in a business environment, behind every image there is a whole team. If I'm doing branding for myself, the CEO is involved because the CEO of the company can't just like have a random logo. He has an opinion on what the logo should be and what's the color is. Marketing department, design department, art director, PR people, everyone discussing. And then there is a person who is drawing it. He needs to provide several concepts. It's a lot of like huge amount of negotiation. It's painful from the client perspective. Then let's look at the situation and we're not talking about the price. We're not talking what's more expensive, like the hand-drawn illustration or the generated, like the inference. The most expensive thing is time of the people involved in this process and the time that we spend on negotiation. From the artist's perspective, you get approached by a client, he gives you a brief, you draw something, you send 3 options, they're unhappy, they have a Zoom with you, they discuss the image, everyone has an opinion, you go back, you change something, you go back again. And then if you do brand illustration, if this is a brand style, once the style is established, the whole job becomes super boring because every day for your content marketing team and social media marketing team, you have to create one and the same images and one and the same style. Imagine like Duolingo OWL, or imagine like Facebook illustration or Uber illustration. Like it's super fun to create it from scratch. What's boring and what's like killing people is like doing one and the same style once and again and again. And probably I saw guys who work as in-house illustrators for large tech companies. Like first month they're excited, second month they're excited, third month they're like, kill me, I can't do that anymore. And it doesn't mean that AI is taking away like your inspiration or something, but there is so in every job, the amount of the mundane part of it is huge. And if you can outsource it to a junior trainee, then you can outsource it to AI. It's not about, we can't replace a creator, but we can cut down the amount of mundane work for him and essentially save more time for him to have this creative suffering. So I want them to suffer in a creative way when they don't know what to draw, when they have like ideas and concepts and things like that. But again, it's like probably those are some snapshots from the interviews because like on daily I interview like 2 to 3 illustrators. I have calls with them and they say like, well, sometimes when you start creating something and you're stuck with the ideas, you use AI as your partner, as your creative partner. But when you use those like black box tools that are trained on the average of the internet, basically doesn't help you at all because they give you some random imagery. What you want is variations within your style and your concept, and then you can say, I never thought of this type of the composition, and what if I add this, what if I add this? Because artists, when they work with themselves for the commissions or for their artistic projects, they are art directors to themselves. They first draw and then they look at it, just like, something wrong or something good. Yeah.
Okay, so that sounds like a no-brainer. Why there are like? Do you see competition here? You seem to be one of the few big players yet. Are there more to come? And like, why it doesn't seem to be a win-win model that more companies embrace? What do you think about it?
Well, I believe that like my background as a founder and I'm a serial founder is quite new to AI industry. I feel like a lot of people who are data engineers, machine learning engineers, they quite instantly saw the potential of generative technology and generative AI. But like their approach to that was like competition in terms of the technology, like who can build a better algorithm, who can make like less fingers on the person's palm, like how can we tackle this problem, how can they tackle that problem. So they thought about AI, which is very distant in terms of the technological advancement. Like my style of like as a founder and my background is in communication, is always to think about how technology will change the way people interact, how this new tools and technologies that are so rich in terms of the information, it's still an informational technology, uh, can affect the way human can collaborate and enhance and improve ways in which we collaborate. So for me, AI is not the end of the story. I'm not building AI for the sake of the quality of the technology. I'm still designing human communication, and I'm thinking, how can Leonardo da Vinci can contribute not only to 100 projects to which he contributed, and he was very capable of contributing to many things. How can we make sure that every company, any project in the world, any founder from Mexico, from Canada, from Taiwan, who want to hire him can collaborate with him? How can human beings can create together? And exactly when we like when we extract some kind of expertise or talent from a human being into a personal AI model, we're not replacing this person. We're enabling others to collaborate with an amazing talent. And so that's why exactly it's so much focused on like acquiring, first of all, the talent market. So we are after the best illustrators, the best artists, the most innovative people, because our product is not a technology. Our product is talent of a person.
Okay, so you basically allow talents to scale beyond their time capacity.
Hum-
Uh, yeah, like human limitations of like physical time, and time as the core resource. I think generally a lot of AI technology promises around that. The problem is finding the models that work, and you seem to propose one that does, right? Now, do you expect, like, do you actually believe that we need so much more artistic capacity, let's say? Yeah. So now you're 40,000 people on your platform. There are 8 billion people in the world. Do you believe that the you know as the supply grows, because basically your technology enables the growth of the supply that's exponential, in a sense that we can create far more artistic imagery now in a matter of minutes. So do you actually believe that, despite the fact that now for 40,000 it clearly works, we can actually, like, we need that amount, that amount of supply in terms of aesthetics? Do you believe that? What
yeah,
is your
I
sweet
do.
spot? How many artists do you want to sign up? And like, what's your end? How does the end game look?
I feel like the world needs everyone to be an artist, and but the
Okay.
business side of this is that like I'm not sure if it's just you're showing to your audience what's going on the screen or not, but I will just describe it. I'll show you some artwork that's in my co-working spaces on the wall. Have a look.
Yeah.
What do you
Okay.
see?
These are
What do,
skateboards. These are two
mm-hmm.
skateboards, and they're covered in some geometric pattern, black, beige, and brown on the white
Mm-hmm.
canvas. Something
Yeah. Do you
abstract,
like it?
geometrical.
Do
Yeah,
you like it?
I generally like this type of art. But I think it works because it's like the only art in the room. If you had 50 arts like this in the room, that would kind of be too much. Sort of like I'm, we
No, that's not my point.
yeah,
That's not my point.
yeah.
Well, you say you're a very polite person. You say I kind of like it. Well, I personally hate it. I
Okay.
feel it's like very generic. I don't like skateboards. I feel like it's a little bit off the room, and I don't like this design choice. But obviously, somebody who was like decorating this room, he thought, "Oh, amazing! I would put it on the wall. It will be beautiful." Uh, I'm less polite, and I can see that you have a poster behind you. It's probably a
Yeah.
Rick and Morty. Yeah.
Yeah. It's Rick Sanchez versus Heistatron, the fight of AI
Mhm.
and human. And of course, Rick is a very telling character.
Love animation, amazing work. I know that a lot of people are fans of this cartoon. Me personally, not my cup of tea. My
Okay.
point is that we need infinite, like we have different tastes as human beings. And if you're a brand, what you want to do, you want to be relevant to your audience. And the more you understand your audience, the better, but you use imagery to attract customers and to retain customers and to build retention with your customers. And you need as many imagery in that specific style as possible. You use artistic voice to make sure that your customers understand you on a non-verbal level. Why people actually use illustrations, how that happened to us. Well, because people wanted to print Bible and most of the people were illiterate. So they had to put imagery on the Bible books so that more people could be converted into Christianity. And that's like one of the first implications of illustration and how it happened, like this conversion. And they were thinking that illustrations are increasing conversion rates into Christianity. Well, brands currently do the same thing. They try to put something on the Instagram feed or in TikTok or anywhere else to increase the conversion rate. The more relevant the aesthetics is, the better. Now, if all the imagery is produced by just three algorithms, well, I look at illustrations every day. I know what's produced by Midjourney. I don't even need to do a scan. I can say, like, this is Midjourney, this is Dali, this is that. Well, but the world needs the diverse amount of illustrators. And if you open Instagram feed, for example, or Etsy, you will see hundreds of thousands of people who produce illustrations in their own style, and people tend to buy from those individual creators because they want to find something which is very relevant to them. And we don't want all to live in a world where aesthetic is unified, as if like in Christian church, like there was like canonical style of illustrations. You had to draw in this exact way and you can't deviate from it. But I don't want to live in the world where aesthetics is like kind of a totalitarian, defined by the way it's a one precise model, which tells to me that it should be in the style of Wes Anderson, very symmetrical. Like everything should light should go from the behind, and everyone should be like look like Instagram girls. I want to live in the diverse world where like there are different types of defining what beautiful is. And that's why I'm absolutely sure that the world will not end up in one unified style of illustration. And because we are able to scale up the production of the artistic output, we all, as a humanity, will benefit because we all will live in the world which is much more diverse and beautiful than it is now.
You mentioned skateboards. I remember the story. When I was doing my PhD, I came into a skateboard shop, and one of them depicted a head of a very sad blue red-eyed elephant, and it was the only skateboard that was in the category of like 120 kilos, something like that. So it was looking at me, and I was looking at the skateboard, and the guy who was selling those came to me and said, "Don't worry about it. Fat kids skate better." So I bought this skateboard. Um, so yeah, art definitely helps you to connect with the objects. That's for sure. I also broke a leg literally on that skateboard. So I don't. My skateboarding career was short, but it was fun. Nevertheless, you mentioned this example about Bible illustrations, and I visited Wittenberg, and Wittenberg was a very interesting place. So Wittenberg, the place where the Luther's Bible was published, and it was an interesting place because it was a collaboration between three very talented people. It was Luther himself, who was probably CEO of this, in a sense that he came up with this idea: how about we translate the Bible so people can actually understand what's it about? And then
Such a novel idea, right?
big, big breakthrough, man, big breakthrough. But then there was Gutenberg, who was the CTO of the thing, because he basically provided the technology to publish it. And then there was Kranach, who was the artist whose imagery actually was well, probably pivotal in terms of like the success of the whole endeavor. And when you visit Lutherstadt Wittenberg, now in Germany, it's even called the city of Luther, they tell you about it, that there was a tight knit group of this several talented people with very different talents. And the printing press was kind of a way to just scale this thing and make it noticeable. And at first in Europe, first in Germany, then in Europe, then globally. So to some extent, people who are first on your platform, they have the first mover advantage, right? So do you believe that this is the possibility for certain types of visual aesthetics to kind of gain further ground? Like, do you actually, maybe you already have examples? You have 40,000 people, so maybe you have an example of some artistic style or artistic approach that actually benefits from this first mover advantage into this new scalable world where you can scale aesthetics with AI.
We have tasted the ground a little bit, but we're yet to see that. For now, and that was made on purpose, exactly is encapsulated. As a user, if you go to the homepage, what you will see like a SaaS tool. You have to click on it, you have to upload your images, you will create your own images in your own style, and that's it. That's the whole thing. Us, the developers, we see the back end of it. We see what is uploaded and how diverse it is, and how many different things that we have never seen before can actually happen on Exactly. And the next move for us, which is happening now and is to create this open Exactly. And I probably started by saying that I create social media. So this is my like approach to communication. When the whole feed of models that we have now, and there are like thousands of amazing models, we call it cool models, which we like pre-select, will be available to everyone to try and to play with. And then new aesthetics can only come from the collaboration of human beings. We will see what will go up from this cooperation, because art or any aesthetics doesn't live when it doesn't have an audience. It only like appears to be something when somebody is looking at it. And for now, only us are looking at it, and it means that it's like a flower which is not blossoming yet. But we will see it when then this will appear. And the reason we know that this is happening is because we had several exhibitions throughout last 2 years. Some of them were organized by members of the community, and we didn't even know about that. Some of them were facilitated by us. And the first one was in Berlin. And for the first time, we printed on canvases all the images that we previously saw on the screens, and we saw them in the large room. And I thought that, wow, this is something absolutely new in terms of the aesthetics. One of the images that struck me was very old-fashioned still lifes, like 16th, like from the 16th century, extremely boring, like straightforward still life. But all of the things that were on the table, there were stones, and those stones behaved as if they are curtains or vases or things like that. And because it was created in such a traditional way, you know that it's impossible to create it without like actually drawing from the still life that you see. But because the objects on the still life were imaginative, like you can't find those stones in real life, that gave you that effect of like, oh my god, I've never saw that before. I've never, like, it's something absolutely new. And this is one of the, like, I would say a style in its own that's happening on Exactly. It's created by Tim Yerzhenbek. He's a Russian illustrator and an artist, and this is absolutely something that he developed with his own brain. And I think it's like he's a visionary in that sense. But then also we see collaborations between.
Just a second. If they can offer one image as a courtesy, of course we'll put the links and show the image on the YouTube
Sure.
part. So but that'd be nice.
But then, like, what I see is what's happening is that, like, most active members of the community, they share login credentials to their own Exactly accounts. So or they share data sets, so they can, like, a designer, for example, is taking data set from the person who creates dolls and like crafts, and like she's doing felt figures, and then he prompts her model and he creates something absolutely different from what she initially intended. And the same happened to us. We ordered a data set from an illustrator to create imagery for a landing page of Exactly, and all the images are created, like, obviously we eat our own dog food. But, like, depending on who's prompting a model, the result is so different. So, and I feel like this is kind of like repeating the beauty of collaboration between two minds, because you take two people and like together they do something different from whatever they're able to do on their own. And getting back to your question, getting back to your question, you said like whether there is a new aesthetic. Well, my prediction is that commercial aesthetic will become more complex. We'd never see products that use Baroque imagery on their like landing page, right? Because you can't repeat it and scale up this. So we only saw this like very simplistic vector illustrations. Anyone can draw it. Like if you just like hold a pencil for 2 months, you are able to draw anything, basically, to copy any style of any brand. I feel like we're going towards more complexity. We all already see that crafts are valued more. So artists who I just read yesterday a report that those people who are working with the traditional mediums, they charge more for their illustrations because like brands value them more because now everything can be created with AI. And I feel like the new aesthetics is yet to come. There's a very famous fashion book that says that like every decade, depending on the technology, we have different aesthetics for everything. So aesthetics of 80s is different from 30s and from 20s and from the pre-First World War and after the Second World War, blah, blah, blah. We will see this change of taste going forward in a more rapid way.
Just to be clear, those cool models that you mentioned, there is some revenue share program with the artist, right? So like if I as an artist, I train my model and then I offer it to you guys, and then at some point it ends up within your service, then basically I still benefit from the model because just more people see it, right? That's the idea.
For now, it's even better for an artist than what you're describing. We only charge £20 for a subscription, and whatever you create, and the model belongs to you, and the inference of the output of the model belongs to you, so you can sell it to clients, and we do not take a cut on the transaction that is happening. That will stay like that for a little while because we're now focused on like attracting top talent of the illustrators. I feel like it's not a good time for us to charge to have a cut. Sometimes we look at how much money our illustrators make and we're just like, maybe we should take a cut, like how they do that. but we want to
Yeah, you
stick to
greedy,
the
greedy tech entrepreneurs. You started with with the fact that you mentioned AI, and then you mentioned that you like social media, and at some point you also said that we don't see a lot of baroque imagery for brands, and I think it's a triple hate collected in one podcast because like this could be nothing more evil than AI driven social media for baroque illustrators. I personally cannot imagine a more horrifying apocalyptic scenario. So, like, but like jokes aside, I mean it in a good way. It's just I don't like Baroque. I actually like your abstract, simplistic patterns on the wall. So we clearly have aesthetic differences here. Now, if you're saying that, so you mentioned the social media aspect, right? And of course, social media is the second, maybe the first biggest evil in the world, um, rivaling AI in terms of the dangers that discuss in connection with the social media technology. I recently had a thought, and I want to pick your brain on this one. So I had this revelation that we as human beings are designed to live in relatively small groups. That's all the cognitive psychology, all social psychology says us that. And I've been thinking that maybe social media is actually making the words far less complex, in a sense that we also have very strong impulse for some sort of normative behavior. Like we are used to the idea of checking our peers and doing something more or less in the direction that is appreciated or accepted by the peers. And so, to some extent, when we lived in a small groups and the groups were relatively isolated, we had probably bigger diversity of what's happening in one group versus what's happening in another, what's acceptable in one group or versus what's acceptable in the other. And then when you start to build these connections, it sounds pretty good on paper that, oh, now people see and get exposed to the variety of opinions. But what effectively happens is that your group becomes too big, and then mainstream position, be it, as you mentioned several times, like some average style from the internet, or some average acceptable behavior, or some average set of values that you believe to be socially acceptable. So this kind of uh, middle of the distribution becomes reinforced additionally, as if it actually needs additional reinforcement. It gets reinforced due to the social cohesion mechanisms. So effectively, we get a society that's actually far less diverse because people see um, something that they are not used to seeing, and the amount of the information, amount of groups that they are not used to seeing, and applying this basic concept of like social cohesion, maybe subconsciously, to whatever they see. So, um, don't you think that, and actually in art, you can see that to some extent because historically artists were kind of flocking into groups, and there was like a group of like, so you said every 10 years there's a new artistic style that's trending, and to a large extent there is a group behind, like, I don't know, impressionists or suprematists or whatever, postmodernists. So maybe postmodernist is the only group that's not very good in group things, but by design. But generally there's always this cohesion, and there is this dense core of the people who actually connect with each other based on this aesthetics or values or whatever, and then maybe some of them take the society by the storm, and the society kind of jumps on it and says, okay, I'm buying that, that's actually quite cool. So aren't you afraid that despite your commendable attempts to make things more diverse, maybe the ability to scale and the ability, like, if you look what's trending on any social media, most of it is rather primitive because it makes people click. So aren't you afraid that there might be such side effect for art, that when you build the social cohesion, you'll actually get some optimum that's actually in the center, that's getting more prevalent, and you kind of, despite your dream to foster diversity, you might actually retroactively see that that's not what's happening. At least on 40,000 people, maybe you start noticing such things or not.
There are several topics and layers and concepts that you've mentioned.
Go for it. We have, unlike you, who is an aspiring founder who's probably I don't know, charging people by the minute, I have all the time in the world. So just let me know when you want to stop.
I promised my team to celebrate, and I think that the incredible team of Exactly deserves a pint of beer today. That's the only thing and the most important thing planned for the evening. But first, you touched the topic of diversity and whether social media mechanism will foster diversity, or whether like we will end up in the unified world where there is like clickbait art and everything else disappear. Well, I feel like that problem has already been solved. And we can see that on Instagram, for example, or on Yahtzee, we can see that like the amount of creators who enter the platform and who gain popularity grows. So we like this problem is not a problem anymore. We've been living around social media for more than a decade. We can see that the amount of creators on Instagram is growing. We can see that platforms like Domestika, which is a Coursera for creators, for people, for artisans, is growing in revenue and number of users. We can see that despite the manufactured production of things, yet the creators are thriving, and we can see that the demand for something which is crafted is growing, mostly because of the technological advancement and the fact that every creator from every country can sell something on every platform, and it's like this, like scaling up the distribution problem is pretty much solved. And I feel like the data that we have throughout the last 10 years proves that diversity in art is something that the humanity wants. I can speculate on why is that. I feel like beauty is
Go for it.
My speculation is that, well, there is no such thing as a beauty. There is a good feeling when you see something which is beautiful. And this good feeling is paired in your brain with emotions that you had when you saw the same thing before. So, for example, why I hate skateboards, because I fall down once and it was painful, and since then I hate skateboards and any skateboard, even like with a baroque illustration on it, I will hate it because I have this memory.
I've broken a leg in 3 places in one fall. I still love skateboards, But I see your point. Yeah.
And like beauty is connection to pleasant emotions and memories. So this is paired in our brain, and we're wired in that way. And this connection makes us feel like we love croissant, or we love palms, or we love like Côte d'Azur, because it's connected with something, and design is connected with something. So those are memories and things. Well, people have different memories, like everyone had different childhood, saw different things, we were exposed to different things. So our memories are different. That's why we always want to be in a good place as a human. We want to see again what we saw once. And that's why we need like a whole bunch of diverse things, because you want to please every possible person.
So arguably, if you succeed, just to clarify, does it mean
everyone will have their own perfect illustrator? Why not?
So like if you succeed, the world will become far more aesthetically rich. That's the end goal, right? So every aesthetics that resonate with at least one person would have a chance to happen, right?
Because if you're on the internet, I can create banners, not for a segment, but just for you. Because if the creating of an of the asset for ads costs nothing, and I know who you are, why would I create you something which is pleasing on average to the demographics of people like you? Well, I can micro-target the content of this banner for you. And I can predict what you feel, because you will be looking at the iPhone, and I will be able to use some technology to understand what your emotions are, and I will just know what makes you like excited about aesthetical appeal of something, and what makes you distracted or like annoyed by something. That's it. So I feel like this is a possibility here. And the first concept that you touched, it's about like the diversity and the groups, and whether it's comfortable for human beings to live in a small group where everything is where the rules are set and when we know what to do and where all the people are pretty much unified and from the same background. People call it bubble, but we can describe it as a tribe or as something like that. Well, yes, it's true. We probably both read a lot of like articles like proving that it's the most comfortable situation for a person not to see people who are different. For instance, for example, people are much more comfortable. There are three sets of like environment. Imagine like you have an median income and you can live in a place where everyone are poorer than you and have less money. You can live in a place where everyone are richer than you, so you're living in like a very good neighborhood, or where everyone are similar to you. Arguably, we can say, well, people want to be the best on the neighborhood. They want to feel rich and see how others are suffering. So the first option makes people feel more happy. Maybe the third one, well, they see that everyone is rich, so they can share some vibes of the gated community. Well, we know for sure that people are most comfortable living just with the same similar people like they are because they don't have an anxiety there. But there is a problem with that. Yes, we all chat within our Telegram chats and WhatsApp chats, and we all live in tribes. But in actual fact, we also live in cities, in countries, and we're subscribed to the government that we have. So we have to vote and we have to select this government who takes 40% of our taxes and then makes some decisions with which I like the elections in Britain coming very soon. And I'm not happy with like what's going on. And that means that I need to cooperate with people whom I don't have on my WhatsApp group. And I need to talk to other people. And if I don't have any idea on how their life look like, their mindset look like, I can't cooperate with them. And until we're living in democracy, and for as long as I know that's what's going on, like, and that's the mechanics of what will be going on in the future years, you can't just not talk to the other people because you then are unprepared to live in the world. And that's why in media consumption, I'm a big advocate of diversity. Okay, you can talk to those people. At least look at their clothes. At least like see people who dress differently. You might be judgmental, but at least you will understand that like in this world, there's not just people like you, there are different people in the world, and you have to know that they exist. Otherwise you won't survive.
Okay, that cuts deep, but I would rather not go further into this direction.
Imagine Palestinian-Israeli conflict. Imagine Palestinian-Israeli conflict.
No, please
No?
no, please no, please no, please no. Yes. You still wanted to grab a pint tonight. I remember. So
And I haven't. Unlike what you suspect now when we talk about this stuff.
No. I'm just like
yet.
I joke with my German friends that as a Russian, I don't feel capacity to teach Germans how to do democracy. So far, I need to work a bit on this thing first. But
don't be shy.
It's okay. It's okay. It's it's not shy. I'm not shy by nature. I just feel that there are some aspects of this concept of like hearing and seeing other people. Once again, I think a lot of these messages, they sound really good when you on paper, and then the reality of things turns out to be drastically different from how you envision it. And partly that's because you, by definition, as a serial founder, as a person who managed to move and change the environment, to shift careers from the media career to tech career, you're just a far more flexible person. So to you, the concept of seeing others and interacting with them in a constructive way is a far less difficult or foreign or strange idea. Whereas there are a lot of people, and I don't want to criticize them because I understand what they are coming from. They just have radically different experience, and for them, this mental flexibility is either not an option or is actually a big challenge. and they just don't have time or energy for it, right? Because once again, this social cohesion is not necessarily a bad thing. It's something that helps people to just establish certain routine of their lives and just focus their attention or their energy on the things that matter for them. Let's come back to the artists, because artists, and also, by the way, you're working with artists and you talk to them a lot, and artists by default are more flexible, open, liberal people. So the bias here is clearly, of course, not in the direction of cohesion, but rather in the direction of being open and embracing. It's just that there is, I guess, generally speaking, when we talk about art, a lot of artists have this predisposition towards scale, right? So I remember I am a big fan of street art, and there is a constant discussion in the street art community whether if street art is legal is actually art, right? Like, there are some people who legitimately say that once you legalize street art, once you tame this thing, once you just allow to paint something on this wall, it loses the component of rebellion that is inherits, just deep
DNA of
deep
street art. Yeah.
yeah, core part of it, that like, I'm breaking your law with my art, which is arguably making the art far more valuable than if you as a master gave me money and gave me the wall and told me what to draw, right? So how do you connect with those people who are basically saying that anything that's not rebellious is not art by definition?
I believe that artists are very humble, at least those with whom I'm talking to. And we are not talking to those who are like have solo exhibitions in the best galleries on Mayfair. We're talking to those people who are very hardworking. Um, they develop ideas. They have to do a lot of image search and art and like artistic way of doing things is very similar to me in a way to a scientific approach where you have to do a lot of experiments and you have to work hard until you get to the right image. And most of them say like, any help you can give to me, I need it. Imagine the Night Watch by Rembrandt. I remember it's like in the Rijksmuseum, and you have this huge image. And then there are so many studies because he needs to figure out like how to paint this, how to paint that, how to make a composition, how to do this, that, and that. And that's like, it's not that like he woke up and he was just like, yeah, it will be looking like that, and this will be red, and this will be green. No, he was experimenting a lot. So that part is where exactly steps in, and we are not our biggest competitor in a sense is a pencil. So what we want and our biggest ambition is to become a tool for them with which to draw. And the most common tool that they use is a pencil. So pencil doesn't have agency on its own. It's only like helps you to write down your ideas, and that's it. But most importantly, I don't understand the art market, and I don't work on the art market. I have no idea how to curate exhibitions, how galleries work, how to establish trends in art. I come from marketing and product side of the things. Our clients are brands who need images to run marketing campaigns. And our sellers are those illustrators who do the day-to-day office job of doing this. Yes, that's true that those illustrators, nobody when he's a child and when he's 5 years old is like, I want to do brand illustration for like a marketplace or for a search engine company. No, obviously they all wanted to become artists and to do things in an artistic way, but they have to earn money and they have to do things that are purely work. There is no inspiration. There is a lot of inspiration, but it's an office work of producing imagery that work for the brand and that hits marketing targets. And it's a lot of collaboration with other people. And any little help you can have there, they're taking it.
You mentioned Nightwatch. I remembered when I visited Antwerp, there is a fantastic museum of Rubens in Antwerp. And what surprised me, and that was quite interesting, is that He came up. One of the things that he was doing is that he came up with the idea of having paintings that show his paintings. So he came up with this idea of a catalog. So he draw the painting where it was a big room in his house with other paintings on the walls. And so he used this image to basically show to the clients so they could have a look at all the paintings in one setting and choose the ones they like, which was a nice marketing idea back then. It was relatively new. And when you visit the museum, they tell you that Rubens was actually very successful commercially, partly due to the fact that he himself actually painted very little. So he had a huge team working on it. And then he was basically envisioning certain imagery, maybe consulting the people who worked for him, and then supervised them, maybe added some details, worked on some crucial parts of the image, while all the craftsmanship was done at some point, was basically done by his students. So to some extent, you're giving this capacity, similar capacity that Rubens had humans in. You kind of just automate that. So that's quite interesting. Now, what strikes me as another general question about AI tools and the proliferation of AI tools, and as an educator, I see that, right? So when GPT-4o was released, I dropped a CSV file with some data to it and said, okay, generate me a report with some Python code. Let's make it a Python notebook. And this is a typical assignment that we give to our master students when they start their course on AI and machine learning, which I teach. And GPT-4o was very good in this. So I just understood that basically all my assignments go out the window now, because I cannot do them the way I'm used to do them, because people just do them in 5 minutes without giving any second thoughts. They just throw it into GPT-4o. Now, generally speaking, not within artistry only, but I think it applies to artists as well, there is this part of getting this craft. There's a part of like 10,000 hours or whatever, the amount of time you just need to invest to be good, to become a professional in something. So what are upsides and downsides regarding that? Because it seems that on one hand side, automation is amazing. We do increase the productivity of the people who already have this craft, but it also seems to be a huge challenge for how do we get new professionals. It used to be like this: junior programmer had to program a lot on their own, maybe consult Stack Overflow at some point, maybe consult other more senior people, and then at some point became proficient in whatever they were trying to learn. But with the arrival of such tools as GPT-4o, this seems to be out of the window, and there seems to be no other paradigm on how people will get those skills. So what do you think can happen here? Do you believe that there would be some alternative model for how would people who are junior will actually put in the hours, right? So as a junior, just to maybe settle it on the artist part, on Twitter, I saw a fascinating thread recently. There was a lady who said, I'm an AI artist, so I cannot draw, but I just use some foundational models and prompt it, and I get a lot of imagery. And then I put this imagery on my Instagram. I got some following with it, and here are some art pieces. And then there was a huge conflict between people who already put those 10,000 hours, and they were saying, that's not art, that's bullshit, blah, blah, blah. They were basically trash talking her. That's Twitter. Welcome. And at the same time, there were a lot of people who were just saying, yeah, that's a new thing that's going to happen. But those people actually would come at some point to exactly, you will get the people who upload some generative images that they collect and believe to be their artwork. So what can you do about that?
I think there are two questions of like how we prevent fraud of people who are like uploading someone else's artwork. It's quite easy because you can.
They will upload the generative work that they generated themselves. They use some Mid Journey, and they prompted it a lot.
I'm sure any of your students can create a script that will understand that like those images are generated or not, to which extent it belongs to the creator or it's not belong to the creator after a certain threshold. You can implement the manual
Well,
checks.
to some extent, yeah, but
I
like
mean, it's
maybe in a
like
year, maybe
it's a trivial
no, no, no.
processing problem.
It's an
There is
arms race, right? It's an arms race because at some point the foundational models, the foundational generative models might become so good that it will be actually quite hard to distinguish, right? It would be quite
we
hard to
are
catch those generative things.
we're training an image, a model on a data set that artist uploads. When this model becomes public, we publish the small pieces of data sets, smaller sizes, images in the smaller sizes, to the public page of the model, so that if this images belong to you, you will see what are the images that it was trained on. So it's absolutely transparent. Now, if even if, and that happens after several checks that we have on our end, and trust me, it's like not it's trivial for now. It's quite trivial to check it, and with the complexity of the and the like the volume of the transactions that's going on, the complexity of checks will increase. But it's I believe it is a solvable problem, but yet 1% will find a way how to like overcome it, and then our like security department will be always fighting against 1%, and that will be a story for maybe it would be interesting to discuss it when we will have enough volume of fraudsters. But for now, even with 40,000 creators on the platform, uh, they generate a tiny problem for now. So the solutions are quite simple, and we don't have to think about. It's a nice problem to have. Let's talk in a year, just to put it short.
Sure, sure.
The other one, I feel like it's an incredibly interesting topic of like how technology affects educators. And you are an educator. I'm not. I only have like 3 children, and they educate me into physics rather than vice versa. Uh, the smallest one is not talking yet, but I'm sure he will educate me into something when he starts to talk.
She's learning.
Uh,
She's learning physics quite all right. Believe like it's very clear that the smaller kids learning a lot of physics on their own. Just especially gravity. Gravity is the big topic for smaller kids. I got a daughter. She learns a lot about gravity on a daily basis. So yeah, sure. But yeah, coming back.
yeah,
So what can we do
yeah,
about it,
yeah.
or do you see
Coming back,
some loopholes here?
I it's not that I don't see disadvantages, but I see so many advantages of AI in the education process. One of them is, as you probably remember, I don't have background in computer science or maths, but yet to develop exactly some from time to time, I have to read some articles published about models. So, and one of the article, and my previous journey would be just to write paragraph by paragraph, ask questions to friends and like what's that, what's this, how that's organized, what's the process. And it takes them some time to explain, and but like the speed with which I was reading side articles in like in archive was quite slow. Now if I see something that I don't understand, like multi-head something, I was just like, what's multi-head? I can go to ChatGPT and I can ask, like, I'm reading this. My level is this and that. Can you please explain? And then I get the explanation I need, and I can move forward by reading something that's important. The same goes with the artist. We have an illustrator from The Guardian. She makes cartoons. She works towards very strict deadlines. So typically, her cartoons are published at 4 p.m. London time. Her morning editorial meeting is 8 a.m. By 12, she receives the story she needs to illustrate. And then by 2 p.m., she needs to give back the final version. And by 1 p.m., the first draft. She says, everything is fine unless this is a story about transport, because I am horrible in drawing buses and cars and like ambulance machines and ships. And she's really good in making portraits. She can draw a very, very good portrait of Rishi Sunak, for example, which is difficult. She's like, but buses are a nightmare. And she said, like, can I just use AI? And I don't question her skills as an illustrator. She's like, I just want sometimes to be able to go to the toilet and then go back. But if it's a story about buses, then I have to do it, and I'm unable to make lunch. She's like, can I please use AI just to make those horrible buses less horrible? Then I will be able on those days to have my breakfast and lunch. And that helps her. That basically, if we take a human being, our skills are not equal. So we're very good in something and then less good in something else. Basically, AI helps to elevate the level where you are maybe worse than you want to be to the level of your best achievement. With students, I don't know how to solve it, but I believe that attention and motivation is the core. If a child wants to use search engine and YouTube to escape school, you won't be able to do anything, no matter how well the search engine works. But if a child wants to educate themselves, children wants to indicate themselves in certain topics, then search engine is a very good thing. One of my teachers in my school, like many years ago, published a post. Well, in our days, we had to go to the library and search for information. Now people can just type something in Google and just get the answer for any question they want. What a horrible thing to the educational process and for school children. Just like, oh my God, you have access to all the knowledge of the world through the internet, but there you will say, oh, now you don't have to go to the library and read books. You just can type anything you want in the search engine field and then you get the answer. Well, whoever wants to learn will learn. Whoever doesn't want to learn, you can't do anything with that.
I came across a stand-up comedian. I unfortunately forgot the name, but it's a brilliant joke. He was saying that, like, I remember when I was studying in school, we were doing arithmetics, and my teacher, whatever, Miss Longbottom, was always saying, well, you need to study arithmetics because when you grow up, you won't carry a calculator in your pocket, will you? Well, Mrs. Longbottom, I got bad news for you.
The biggest
Of course,
lie of your
yeah,
life. Yeah.
of course, he's showing his iPhone at this moment. That's the punchline. But okay, so you basically, if I heard you correctly, your answer is like, yeah, that's the problem, but it's up to educators to deal with it. So we'll try to do it.
I
Just wrapping
believe
up.
Yeah, sorry.
No,
I
no
myself
problem.
wanted to wrap up, and then it's just like it's such a big pleasure to talk to you. Yeah, I would.
No,
Yeah.
no, no. Yeah. So just wrapping up. One thing, one next big thing for exactly AI. What should we look for? When, for example, the social component will kick in? Do you have some time estimate? Something
Oh,
that you anticipate as the next big further step for your journey.
well, the most excitement I have is about public models that we're launching. You can see the teaser of those models already on our landing page. If you scroll down, you will see several models published by illustrators. First bunch of them. Starting next week, we will be accepting more submissions. And quite soon, you will have TikTok for AI models where you will be able to interact with the creators in a new, absolutely different way, where you will be able to play with the models of those creators. And that's the thing that I'm looking for with a great excitement.
Thank you very much. That was Tonia Samsonova from Exactly AI. She needs to run off for her well-deserved pint. Congratulations
My
and
team's
good
well
luck.
deserved points. Thank you,
Yeah,
and I'm sorry for
absolutely.
interrupting you all the time.
It's fine. I
But it
did
was
that as well. That's how free conversation works. It's okay.
Thank you. It was a
Take
pleasure.
care.
Thanks. Bye.